I almost broke Craig. It took him a second. He didn't want to get in here.
Greg's been broken for a while. We just don't talk about it.
Actually, he's been a lot better lately.
Yeah, because the world has gone past the restrictions of the world and the shutdown and everything, and people aren't using Discord as much anymore.
Yeah, seems likely. Why use Discord when you can actually leave your house?
Because I'm not gonna leave my house.
Well, you may not. I do, at least a couple times a week.
I don't know why.
But anyway, I am Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay, and you're Grumpy Dungeon Master
Christopher.
Hey, he got it right the first try.
Yeah.
And we do a podcast about tabletop gaming. So I want to throw this out here right in the beginning. This episode, we will be talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie, but we're going to do it in the last half of the podcast. So that way we don't have to cut it up and be like, we're going to have spoilers now. So we can just do it at the last portion of the podcast. You'll know that way if you haven't seen it somehow magically, then we're not going to spoil anything for you. But I would hope everybody's seen it by now. So
I think the people listening to this podcast have already seen it by now, and we'll go into a little bit of people's reactions to it first, and then get into the spoiler stuff.
Yeah,
that would be spoiler.
Yeah, we could do that. Some I will be talking about the Oriental Adventures game that's coming up here soon.
No, you won't.
Yes, I will. I'm actually going to do it right now.
Nope.
Yep. So anyway,
my fifth topic was
no, we're not doing this. So I came across the collection of the Legend of the Five Rings Oriental Adventures 3. I think it was 3.0 actually, 3rd edition D&D, and I've been really just diving into this stuff lately. Tons and tons and tons of lore. So much lore. Oh my god, so much history to learn. Like all I've done is it's like going back to school and having history classes, because literally there's a timeline of over like 1,200 years that I'm having to learn, or at least get the gist of it, just to run this game. Why would I do that? Why would I ever do that?
Because that's what we always do. And then you're just going to skim most of it anyways, and then you're going to basically, show up and have to relearn a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm still learning stuff about Forgotten Realms every single day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're not wrong. Like a lot of the timeline, I've just okay, I get the basics of it. I'm skipping forward. I know the time period I'm running it in, so I'm learning all of the details of what's going on right then. There are 8 clans. Every single clan has 4 or 5 families, with different leaders and different NPCs. So I'm focusing on the ones that my players are choosing, those clans specifically, and those families. So it's less stuff to learn.
Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, especially focus on just one family for the first start,
Yeah, at least in the beginning, I want to focus on the families. I've got 6 players, I think. 6, it should be 6 players, and each one of them are in a different family and a different clan. But I'm not having to learn anything and everything about all of the families.
Okay.
But still a hell of a lot. One thing that I am doing that I can't say I've ever done this, but it is kind of important in this setting, is it is families. So I need to actually know who my players' characters' parents are, their brothers and sisters. Are they married? Who are they related to? Like, all of this stuff matters. Have you ever had to do that in a D&D game before?
No, because it sounds annoying.
Well, I can write better stories, and I can involve players more into their own backstory, having some of this information.
I mean, it's nice to have lineages, but a lot of the times I find it just to be more of a headache than a help.
Yeah, but
like in this game, it sounds like it's built around having that. So that's like part of making your characters is developing the lineage. Mm-hmm. So like a Game of Thrones game would also have the same kind of
Yes.
requirement. You need to have established a family. But if you look at like Faerun and D&D Prime as just a close example, you you could do that and set that up, but no one's going to give a shit if you're of a noble family of some like fishing village on the coast. And people in Waterdeep just
Well,
don't give a crap. But
if
then again, if you were playing an intrigue Lords of Waterdeep style game,
there you go.
then that would possibly work. But
Yeah.
I
There
don't
are
know. I kind
how
of
many?
avoid political games.
Sure, yeah, and they're harder to run for sure. They
Yeah.
absolutely are much harder to run. This one is a lot of it is built on it, but it's a large setting, so I'm running it that way. But if I wanted to, I could have said everybody is playing peasants, and all you have to do is just go out and kill monsters. Or if I wanted to, I could have said you're all from this one family. There's not really going to be much political intrigue. They're going to send you out on missions. You're all a
That's
bunch of
how I would have done it.
yeah.
Just to introduce the players to the family type, and like have the players like choose the family, and then introduce the world slowly that way, and how it like affects the family.
Well,
And that's
a lot of us have played this setting before, um,
yeah. Well then, yeah, no
so
problem.
it's not a complete introduction. Like there was a couple of them that haven't played it, but my other DM Johnny, he ran an Oriental Adventures campaign. It was I think it was the actual D&D Oriental Adventures one. So some of the families were different, but it is very close, very similar.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. But this should be interesting for me. I've never run one with this quite in depth of character backstories. Like I know our buddy Jacob, he's playing a Lion Clan barbarian. Quote, his class is barbarian. Technically, he's a samurai because a lot of the warrior types tend to be that in this setting. He is betrothed, although he won't be marrying the NPC for years. I still have to come up with all that details. So
Yeah, I mean, if that's going to be fun, then you definitely do it and hope it works out.
everybody so far seems to be very much looking forward to me running this game. And this isn't gonna be one of the ones like the second ed was supposed to be, where I run it just casually. This is going to be an every 2 weeks like clockwork. This is what we're doing. So,
All right.
but yay! I finally got to talk about it.
Is that it? You don't want to tell us like cool
uh,
things about it? It's
I,
Oriental. Yay.
I trust me. If you want, I can start
What's the
detailing out.
combat system like?
It's third edition. It's 3.5. So
Oh,
it's Dungeons and Dragons.
that's dumb.
The spell system is a little different. There is only one spellcasting class, the Shugenja. There are no quote clerics. There are no wizards. It is only the Shugenja. The Shugenja they are technically a divine class, where you pray to the spirits to do things for you, but they get access to the four elements and void, depending on which school you're from. So void is kind of it's the all encompassing. It's a lot of divination type stuff.
Yeah.
But you get your four elements, and that's primarily it. Water has healing and ice spells. Fire is fire. Earth is earth. Air is air. And like the whole thing has its own spells. A lot of them are just copied from third edition. So they might call it something else in this, but it might just be Mage Hand or Fireball. But then there's also a lot of them that are very specifically unique to the setting.
Okay. That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that you don't have to worry about wizards or clerics. Everybody casts the exact same way. Like all the spells are done like sorcerers, essentially. You know these spells, and these you can cast. If you want to cast 5 magic missiles a day, you can cast 5 magic missiles a day, but you might know 6 different first level spells. You can just call upon what you need to.
That's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Ed Greenwood videos on his YouTube.
Yeah, I'm watching pretty much all of them.
So did you watch the one? I think it was a relatively recent one.
The only one I have not watched all of was the one where he was talking about how he came up with Forgotten Realms. I watched the first 5 minutes or so where he was talking about having a dream, like a daydream about two of the Silver Hands, and that was sort of the very beginning of Forgotten Realms.
Yeah.
But I haven't. That's the only one I haven't watched every bit of.
So did you watch the one where he's talking about how magic works in D&D?
Yes, I don't remember it. That was several weeks ago, but yeah.
So there was a comment that he made in there that um, he was talking about the weave, and he's talking about Mistra and how
Yeah.
Mistra is the embodiment of the weave.
Yes.
She is the weave, and that if she's gone, then the weave is gone.
Correct.
And he also mentioned that he had developed 2 other magic systems that exist in Faerun.
Mm-hmm.
True Name Magic.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I forgot what the other name was.
Could have been Spellfire.
Maybe.
There was a few of them. There's a lot of different magic systems, but yeah, True Name was definitely one of them. I think Spellfire was the other one.
He keeps. Then his next response was, and Wizards keeps taking them and making them new classes. And it was a comment about the sorcerer. So I think that the lineage magic was like its own system, and they kind of broke that out into the sorcerer being its own thing, but still using the weave, so it made sense for everybody.
Yeah, sorcerers first appeared in 3rd edition. Spellfire as a prestige class appeared in 3rd edition. Yeah.
So it's been very interesting, and honestly, watching all of his videos, I completely I had a plan for my stream game, and I was going to go depending on, and this still will happen depending on how they end it. They're going to be able to go to one of 3 or 4 different things, and the end solution that I originally had was basically running Spelljammer. Okay.
Right.
At very high levels. Okay.
Hell yeah, that's the way to do it.
Because that's kind of what makes sense to me. But now, after doing some research of the Faerun and kind of going off the comment I said earlier, where I learned more stuff about Faerun and all the things put together every single day.
Especially by watching Ed Greenwood videos
by watching Ed Greenwood videos
and by buying his DM's Guild books.
Yeah. I'm not gonna bring in his stuff in specifics, but it did make me look into some other things. I'm being vague because I know my group listens to me.
Yeah.
And I've changed the ending, the end of the campaign, the 15 plus idea. So I may still do the Spelljammer, but it's going to be a much reduced section of them.
Okay.
But just for me for fun, and just to make my wife angry at me because she's still like, oh, Spelljammer. I don't like technology. Just no technology. It's actually really bad in 5th edition. Yeah. But it just got me down a rabbit hole, just going on the Wikipedia and just reading stuff and just going on this massive tangent. You learn all these crazy things, and listen to Ed Greenwood, and just his enthusiasm for the game and how everything works is fascinating.
Oh yeah.
And that he's still doing it, and he's like, I got all this other stuff that's ready to go. I've written all these books, and I have all this lore, and all Wizards have to do is just reach out and pay me, and it can be done. But
one thing
they're not doing it.
One thing he said in today's video that he released, the 5 things that are wrong with the D&D movie, and I'm not going to give any spoilers at all right here because that's not what this is about. But he mentioned that all of the old novels are still canon, despite WotC wanting to not make them canon. And apparently there is a Realms agreement, like a written agreement between Wizards of the Coast. It was probably under TSR and Ed Greenwood that they cannot decanonize anything relating to Forgotten Realms without his specific say-so.
which is quite kind of insane. But I guess as long as he's alive, he gets to keep a kibosh on it. And I guess their way of not uncanonizing that stuff is basically not to go back to him and get that data.
Yeah. They
And
can,
that,
yeah, like obviously they can kind of do their own thing, but everything that has already happened within those old novels has already happened, and that you
yeah,
can't just get rid of it. So I was glad to hear that.
yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely thinking about seeing if I can pick up the rest of his 5e items that he has up on just like the 5e specific books. Like he has
Yeah,
Elementer's Candlekeep Companion, and he has Halflings and Hops, and a couple other campaign guides, and seeing what else I can pull from them.
Halflings and
Um,
Hops has almost got to be a fucking recipe book, knowing Ed Greenwood.
and there is one thing that that I've seen before in the past, and I totally this is part of the thing that kind of has derailed everything. And it's like, okay, I have to use this. So he has a book out called Darkhold Secrets of the Zentaurum.
Oh,
Okay,
you need that one.
and it's all about pretty much the Zentaurum,
Mhm.
the Darkhold stronghold, and its location, and like everything that's kind of going on. So that's part of what has derailed everything I have. And they have this massive, amazingly written out Darkhold Castle like map, and the thing is just massive and really cool. And yeah, I kind of wonder like what has changed in this, because this is definitely probably pretty much the most canon material you can get for the Zentaurum right now.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah, yeah, but it's only a PDF. I don't like PDFs.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I am. I want a physical book. PDFs are fine if I can't get the book, but if I can actually
Yeah,
get access to it, I want the physical copy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it is what it is.
Yep,
But yeah,
yep.
definitely check out his thing. I may actually sign up for his Patreon and see what the behind the scenes stuff is, the like the longer conversations that he has with the
Oh,
person that he's
that's a good
doing
idea.
stuff with. Yeah.
Yeah, I may actually look into that myself because I've devoured pretty much every video he's put out there, and getting access to more of them seems like a good idea. And knowing Patreon, it's probably 10, 15 a month at most.
It wasn't too bad. I can actually pull that data up here real quick. Yeah.
Um,
3, 7, and 25.
yeah, see, that's not bad. I'd have to look at it
Yeah.
and see
Oh, and
specifics.
100.
Oh wow, for big
Yeah.
spenders.
Maybe I should do the 100 and then give him the podcast, because you can do live Q&As.
Oh man, we're going big time. All we got to do is pay extra money.
I mean, he's one of the few people that I'd pay to have on.
I mean, you're not wrong. To sit and have a conversation with Ed Greenwood would be kind of awesome. But I
Yep.
don't. We'd have to figure out ahead of time what the hell are we going to talk about.
Just send him on a tangent.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'd have to think of 5 or 6 questions to ask him, and I'm sure he could fill up an hour.
He did bring up in one of his other videos too, where there's a place called the Blue Alley, and he mentioned that someone actually has done a whole DM's Guild guide on the Blue Alley, turning it into like a little dungeon or whatnot. And I found that material. I may actually use that as like a in case like I don't have anything planned, I can just run the Blue Alley, which
Where
is
is it?
interesting. It's in Waterdeep.
Okay.
Um, it's one of the more well-known alleys in Waterdeep. It's like walled off, so you can't get to it,
Mm.
because you pretty much, if you go into it, you die.
Oh,
Like,
I
it's
think you
full of
told.
traps.
Yeah, you were talking.
What I've
You
talked
talked.
about before is the alley that is walled off because there are magic daggers that fly at you,
Yes.
and that's all it is. This is another alley.
What the
uh,
fuck, Waterdeep?
Another. I know, right? And so you go down the blue alley and it turns into this dungeon, and at the end of the dungeon is a bunch of treasure and magic items and whatnot. And it's kind of like, oh, can you survive the blue alley and get the magic items? Well, you can't, because you died all the traps. But if you do, you do get the magic items and you get the gold and stuff that's there. And he brought that up because he was talking about how like the followers of Mistra basically go around and deposit like spell scrolls, magic items, healing items, and whatnot all throughout the land.
Yeah.
So heroes and adventurers can go and pick it up. And I never thought about that before. I never thought about how, like, how does this dungeon get full of items? Like, obviously, if you go into a bugbear den, the bugbear has a +1 mace, that makes sense. The bugbear got it somehow.
Yeah.
But how does a normal dungeon just get full of items? You know, if it's not a crypt or a tomb that has never been opened before. So it's more like, so basically every dungeon is like Tomb of Horrors. It's stocked up by a bad guy, or in this case, a neutral entity, who just wants you going out and adventuring and finding spells and stuff, so you can, you know, go out and be adventurers and spread the weave everywhere.
Yeah, what was that? Was it Tomb of Annihilation or Mad Mage? One of them, like that was sort of the point. It was you had the crazy wizard or lich at the end of it who'd stock it up every so often and
That's
just
Tomb of
just
Horrors, yeah.
yeah, just to bring adventurers into it.
Yep. And that's kind of like the Tomb of Refurbishment that I ran last year. That's all
Hmm.
it is just a bunch of, you know, traps and treasures just stocked up by the grumpy dungeon masters, so you know the party can kind of get through and survive, but it doesn't happen all the time. So there's now another alley of death and mayhem that I can use at any time.
That's weird that the followers of Mystra would be the one to do that though.
Well, they do it anywhere or everywhere, like
Yeah,
at all times. So like if you're going to go through like Crag Keep or whatever it's called
Craig.
in
It's Craig Keep now.
it's Crag Keep now. Um, it's the castle dungeon when you go through the Lost Mines of Phandalin module.
Mhm.
There's a hidden stash of gems and treasures that is just kind of there, but don't make sense that like somebody put that there that was a part of the castle. And like there's a scroll of revivify in there, but there's basically it's behind a locked door, and on the other side of the door is a raging owlbear. So it's not like it's their treasure hold and the owlbear is there to keep the treasure safe. It's just like it's a secret hidden stash that's up there. So either the people that were part of the castle put it there before they left, and this room is now just being repurposed as an owlbear storage facility,
Yeah.
or um, the people of Mistra planted it there once the place became occupied for people to find. So
Yeah.
they're basically the loot goblins of the world, you know,
Yeah, it was
filling things full of stuff.
it was just some guard named Dave who used to work there like 200 years ago who left his stash there and died on some battlefield. Now it's still sitting there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I found that interesting, and I kind of was thinking too, like the Mistra and the Weave almost sounds kind of devious in a way. She's a neutral entity,
Hmm.
and he mentioned that everyone always mistakes Mistra as being a good entity when she's just straight neutral.
Yeah.
And part of what people don't seem to understand is that, you know, because she is the Weave and she is the Weave and the Weave is her, she wants people to basically use it more because she gets stronger and stronger like that. Very kind of malicious in a lot of ways, I think.
It's
Like she's
devious.
spreading the usage of the weave around everybody and strengthening herself, and eventually she's just going to be the most powerful deity on the face of the planet,
Well,
essentially.
that was kind of why Shar created the God, what's the other type of weave? The shadow weave.
Yes.
Yeah. For similar reasons, like every one of the shadow mages, everybody who uses shadow magic out there is just utilizing her version of the weave to do gimmicky versions of what Mister's weave can do. But I would, at the same time, it would strengthen her.
Yeah. And he didn't create that, by the way.
No,
That was
yeah,
somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was in another book later on. What you really need to go and read, or at least with you, I know, go to Wikipedia and read about is the Avatar trilogy. If you're not familiar with it, uh, it
I read it. It was
okay,
it was an awesome show. It was great.
All right, I
I
knew that's where
can't wait
I
for
knew that's where this was gonna go.
I can't wait for the new trilogy to come out.
Not that Avatar. No,
Oh,
the Forgotten
the ones,
Realms.
the blue guys.
The Forgotten Realms Avatar trilogy came out way like back in the 90s or 80s. Um, it so Ao, the head god, the big boy Zeus, came down and he was kind of pissed at all the other deities because they'd just been sucking. So he kicked all of them out of the heavens and sent them down to Faerun as mortals. And they all had to go on a journey to regain their godhood. And some of them made it, and some of them didn't. But a lot of what you're talking about with the weave and magic going wonky, you definitely see it in those novels. Like
Yeah,
magic doesn't really work while Mystra is in mortal form,
yeah,
trying to cast spells. Everything's just fucking wild magic,
yeah.
or dead magic zones.
One other thing that he mentioned that was really kind of interesting about magic was how all spells aren't known what they do when you pull them out of the weave until they're pulled out of the weave.
Oh,
So first person to cast arcane missiles didn't know he was casting arcane missiles.
oh, sure,
He
yeah, okay,
he tapped into the weave, he pulled energy from it, he released energy from it, and it just happened to be arcane missiles. And they're like, "Oh shit, that one was good. Write that down."
yeah, yeah. Fortunately, for him, it wasn't instant death upon the caster.
Right. So that makes me wonder, like, what spells are out there that were cast that people didn't document? And I guess that's up for the DMs for being creative and casting spells.
Yes,
And it kind of lets you like, that's why Jim's dark magic exists,
yeah.
or Jim Dark Magic's magic missile exists, because it's magic missile, but it's like that 2% off from where you would normally pull it. Thus, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, even so, ignoring Weave, ignoring Forgotten Realms, that has actually always been a thing since the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons. And I know you're familiar with Mordenkainen's and Odd Luke and all of these other, spellcasters who have their spells in the D&D books. But it was always a commonplace thing for spellcasters, wizards specifically, to create their own unique spells. And there were always sort of vague rules on how to do it in first and second edition. And like even the wizard that I played back in the 90s, I had two or three of my own unique spells that I created. Obviously with DM approval. But they had their uses, and I had to kind of go through the process of making these spells in the game. And at the same time, if my character never hands those spells out to anybody, if I don't ever let anyone copy my spell book, that's it. That's the only copies of that in the world, probably.
Yeah. And I've read the source books for 4E and 5E, and I don't think I've seen that mentioned anywhere, like
Probably
that
not. Yeah.
level of detail.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappointing because that makes it very interesting. That actually puts more of a spin on the Vance system and making it worthwhile than and understandable than just like, oh, I get to cast 5 first level spells today, yay! Which
hmm
I just find incredibly boring and restrictive.
Well, it's because everybody's going to pick more or less the same ones, or at least some of the same ones. Everybody at first level is going to have magic missile, because
Yeah,
magic missile's good, and shield. They're all going to have shield because shield is good.
yeah. So I gotta definitely do the Patreon and see if I can't go through and actually watch more of his stuff in detail because it's been fantastic,
hmm
and it makes me really excited to do more things and kind of get a glimpse behind the screen, so to speak, and get an
Yeah,
understanding of exactly what was the intent of these decisions that made up the game and what was left on the cutting room floor. Because he mentioned that he wrote one book and it was supposed to be the history of Faerun, and he wrote the entire book, and 2/3 of it was
yeah,
published.
yep.
A whole third of it was just cut and left behind from either being too malicious and too graphic, which he said he understands that part, but there were like things they didn't want to like people don't understand. You reveal too much, and
Seeing behind the
I
curtains, yeah.
yeah. When you find out the wizard isn't just an old dude,
Right.
it's kind of
Uh,
tiring.
One thing that it kind of gives me hope now that he's doing this, because there's still a lot of the kind of old guard left. I would hope that at some point maybe Hickman and Weiss decide to put together something similar, get their own YouTube channel, then do Dragonlance in a similar manner. Uh, I'm sure the creator for Eberron is still out there, Dark Sun, and so forth. Like a lot of these old settings could sort of get some life breathed back into them if the creators really wanted to go that route.
Yeah. I mean,
Even
right
yeah,
now is the D&D renaissance, and we got a bunch of life in us because of the movie right now. So
yep,
hopefully they do something.
yeah. Of which I think it's time to probably start talking about that. So,
All right.
so for you poor people who haven't seen it yet, well, now's when you probably should cut the podcast off. Come back and listen to the rest of it after you've seen the movie.
Or
All
just
right.
listen to the whole thing and then watch the movie because you don't care about
Yeah,
spoilers.
if you don't care about
Don't let
spoilers, then
don't
go
let
for
us
it.
dictate your life. Do what
Yeah,
you want to do.
that's right. You're an adult or almost an adult probably. So do what you want to do. All right. So first things, what were your thoughts on the movie?
It was exactly like playing a game of D&D.
There was definitely a lot of that in there. A lot
When
of that.
the scene where, and I think it's like in one of the trailers too. It doesn't go into full detail. Where basically the paladin is standing in front of the bridge and is given this overly complex description of how you have to cross the bridge by stepping on the odd number stones. But
Uh-huh.
every third stone, you have to take a lateral move to the left. And then when you go to the halfway point, you can only do even number stones. And every fourth stone, you have to take the vertical move to the right.
And there goes the bridge
And then
because
the player just triggers the trap, and the bridge collapses into the lava.
yeah. Yeah, so
Like I could just tell, like I've been in that man's shoes and spots so many times,
and you,
and
so the
uh,
DM really and truly expected them to go across that bridge, and then when they blew up the trap before it ever got started, at that point he's like, shit, what do I do now? Well, they picked up this staff earlier. Really, it was just a normal staff, but now it's a teleportation staff because I need this for them to get to the yeah, loot on the other side. This game doesn't go forward if they don't reach that. So
yeah.
he, out of nowhere, he comes up with the hither thither staff, and next thing you know, they start using it to do some broke ass shit in his game, like breaking into a vault that they weren't supposed to be able to break into, all sorts of other stuff.
So the best part is on D&D Beyond, the Helm of Dysfunction, the hither thither staff, the Horn of Beckoning Death, the Red Wizard's Blade, and the Tablet of Reawakening are all up there for free for anybody to use.
Yeah, yeah, they exist now.
Yeah. And the best part is the Red Wizard's Blade. Okay. And I was like, that's bullshit. They
Yep.
just cast Revivify, True Resurrection, and that should work. You know. And so like I'm fine, whatever. I'm not gonna nitpick that. That's dumb. So here's what the Red Wizard Blade is via D&D Beyond. Okay.
All right.
Forged by Red Wizards using a secret process known only to them, this grim steel dagger draws its power from the negative plane. When you hit a creature with a melee attack using this magic dagger, the target takes an extra 3d12 necrotic damage.
It's a lot.
A lot, yeah. A creature reduced to 0 hit points by this weapon dies and cannot be raised from the dead except by a deity or by a creature using a Tablet of Reawakening to cast the True Resurrection spell. Nice to shoehorn that one in there.
Well, but it does say, use the the tablet of awakening to
Yeah.
cast the true resurrection. So they could have got them resurrected with 9th level cleric magic.
I don't know. I mean, because it is a specific, except by a deity or by using the Tablet of Reawakening, which casts True Resurrection. I mean,
Yeah,
eh,
yeah. That you can argue the details until the cows come home. I
yeah.
think that would be a DM call. So none of these items are ever going to make it into my game anyway, other than maybe the hither thither staff. I like that one.
So the Horn of Beckoning Death. Okay, that thing was fucking cool in the movies.
Yeah.
It is a shitty magic item.
Oh.
Resembling a small dragon's horn, this arcane device glows with a hellish internal light when held. As an action while holding this horn, you can invoke a necromantic effect called the Beckoning Death. The Beckoning of Death arrives at the start of your next turn and manifests as a crimson cloud of smoke that fills a 30-foot radius sphere centered on the horn. The sphere does not move with the horn. At the start of each of your turns, the sphere's radius increases by 30 feet. The cloud disappears after 10 minutes, or when your concentration on the effect ends. Any creature, including you, that has 9 or fewer hit points, when it ends its turn in the cloud, is slain by the Beckoning Death. A humanoid killed in this way instantly transforms into a zombie. The zombie obeys the commands of the horn's creator, the Lich Saz Tam. Once you use the horn's property, it can't be used again for 1 year. So
Honestly, it sounds like it did exactly like in the movie.
it did exactly like that. But if you're telling me that you're going to transform 2,000 people into zombies, and that is the army that you're going to use to conquer all of the world, I'm sorry, pal, but you have fireballs coming out your ass.
Yeah, 2,000 zombies is not going to be enough. Honestly, because a lot of it was in Neverwinter. I think Neverwinter's 40,000 people or something. So I think
even 40,000 zombies, there's enough wizards with fireballs to kill a 22 hit point zombie in mass.
But zombies don't always die. Like
they don't always die unless they're hit with radiant damage for sure. And there are plenty of things like Consecrate Ground that can be worked in massive amounts.
Yeah, you're not gonna you're not conquering the Sword Coast with that item though.
No. If they transformed into ghouls, which is what I thought they did in the movie, maybe.
Ghouls are definitely tougher and much more dangerous.
Not zombies.
Yeah,
because they look like ghouls to me.
Yeah, agreed. Now
they weren't super decayed; they just turned undead.
I have 2 problems with it, and not the stats on this thing, but within the movie. One is actually with the stats. The stats is 9 hit points or less, you just die. When Saz Tam used this to take over Thay, he killed all those other fucking high level wizards with it.
So you have to basically be a bunch of civilians, and like none of the high level wizards would have done anything. It wouldn't have affected them at all.
Yeah. The other thing was when Sophina cast it in Neverwinter, and everybody just walks out when you watch it. It never actually left the interior of the arena. It never actually got into the stands.
Yeah.
So everybody would have been fine anyway for the most part.
Well, it increases in radius by 30 feet.
Oh, I know.
So
I'm just
eventually.
Yeah, but within the movie, she finished her casting of it. She went through the entire process, and then she looks down. It's like, fuck, everybody's gone, and you can just see it's only in the center of the arena.
Yeah.
But
then on top of that, she couldn't have done anything with the zombies because they only follow the commands of Saz Tam.
Yeah. Well, I think that was kind of, I think that was okay because she worked for Saz Tam and she was doing this on his behest.
The zombies don't know that.
Well, yeah, but she didn't have to give them any commands. Saz Tam could have just appeared and done it for them. What was I? Shit, I was just about to say something. Oh well. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. It was exactly what I wanted. There were problems throughout it, but I don't care. Realistically,
none of the problems are problems.
No, it's all nitpicking stuff. Like Ed Greenwood was saying about it, it's just nitpicking stuff.
The only problem that I had is that the one tiefling, finally on screen, is a cute white girl, and not like red skin, pink skin, blue skin.
We've talked about this
crazy
before,
with.
though.
I know, but that's what still bothers me, is that they didn't go like, oh, cool, let's make her green, blue,
yeah, but
red.
it's not. But that's not a requirement.
It's not a requirement. I know.
So, overall, so my
She looks like a satyr more than anything else.
To be fair, my initial thought would have been she's some just sort of wood elf or fey creature. I wouldn't have until I saw the tail. I never would have noticed. I watched an interview with her, and apparently initially they had a large tail.
Yeah.
Like they had a physical device that was strapped to her back, and she'd walk around and just start hitting people with it every time she'd move. So they just decided to nix it and go with the CGI version of it.
Yeah, I noticed that there were a couple. It was out of the shot of most scenes, but there were a couple scenes where she's walking around. You can see that there's just a physical tail there
Oh, okay.
with no animatronics to it at all. It's a cosplay tail.
Hmm.
And honestly, one of the things that I really enjoyed about the film was the Aarakocra and the Dragonborn and the Tabaxi
Yep.
and her tail were all just like
Animatronic.
decent cosplay puppets or animatronics.
Yep. Yeah.
And especially especially the counselor Aarakocra.
Yeah. Jornathan.
Jordan.
Jornathan. Jornathan. He was my favorite. He was just completely clueless to anything going on. Like, like I think in normal NPC, would pay attention. Like a normal just commoner would at least struggle. No, when they grab Jonathan in the beginning, he's like, and they just fucking run with him like nothing's happening.
Yeah, I love it too that they actually at the beginning of the film got the pardon to be
Yep.
freed
Yeah.
from Rebel's End, but they still did their escape plan, and that's very much D&D playing at
Yes.
the table, 1,000%. Like, oh yeah, you solved that was a great success. I'm sorry, you're doing what?
Yeah.
Okay,
The constant potato gimmick throughout the whole movie.
that was amazing.
It's very Dungeons and Dragons. You know good and damn well there's going to be players who like, I throw the potato at him. You what? I hit him with the potato. Make an attack roll at disadvantage. No, I have improvised weapon. God damn it.
Yeah, so I think Holga was my favorite character out of the whole bunch.
Yeah, she was
Um,
fantastic.
Michelle Rodriguez did a great job just playing the like she played the low intelligence barbarian, but like everything she said was right.
Yeah, yeah. Fuck,
So there were deer.
yeah, she's a fucking national treasure. I love Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah, kind of a side point. They're making Fast and the Furious 35 or whatever.
And I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, my wife is very excited. There's a fight scene with Michelle Rodriguez and Charlize Theron.
Uh-huh.
Turns out the director was like sick or something that day. So they were there and ready to go to film the fight scene between them, and there was just nobody there. So they're like, "Fuck it, we'll just do it anyways." And so that whole fight scene is just those two going at it, with the stunt coordinators kind of like running the show.
As it should be. You don't really need a director for that. Director would be like film from here, film from there. Yeah, let's get this shot, but you don't need them there to actually do the fight scene.
So that entire scene, whatever it is, it's supposed to be pretty badass. So I can't wait for that. And that was another. This is my nitpick. That Holga as a character doing all the cool grappling moves and wrestling moves, like that doesn't happen in D&D 5e, and that makes me sad.
No, it doesn't. It happened in third. It could happen in third edition because third actually had stuff like that.
Yeah,
5e has the worst grappling rules ever.
They do. And like even if you look at her stats on D&D Beyond, they're not that much better anyways.
What level is she on there? Do you remember?
All the main heroes were CR5.
Okay.
And then Forge was CR8 and the Safina was CR15 and Zenik was CR10.
We were talking about it because we hadn't actually looked at their stats. From like our estimation was that Holga was probably 8th level or so. Simon, I think, had to be at least 7th level because of one of the spells he cast in the movie.
Bigby's hand.
That wasn't Bigby's hand. That was Earth and Grasp. I don't remember which spell it was, but one of the spells he had.
No, all he has is Bigby's hand.
Okay, well, whatever. Should have been earth. Should have been earth and grass. But hey, to be fair, we also did see that Bigby's hand could be turned into whatever you want it to look like.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he had to be at least 7th level. We assume that Safina was probably in that same range. We never see her cast a spell, so whatever archetype she is has no access to spell casting, but gets a lot of fucking wild shape ability. And I know they've kind of covered that in her stat block, but I don't agree with it. And
So
then there's Edgin, who is a 1st level commoner. Because he has no skills except for fast talk and performance, and that's it.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. He doesn't cast that. Chris Pine's character in the film doesn't cast any spells at all ever. No matter what.
He never fights except one time. I think he hits somebody with the loot.
Yes, he hit Sophia with the loot.
Okay, so he hit 2 people with the loot because he hit the one guard that was getting wrestled. That was about to hit Holga with the axe.
Yeah. So Holga, she has unarmored defense, but she wears armor in the film, I guess.
Unarmored defense. Yeah. Actually,
yeah.
No, she's definitely wearing leather armor. So
yeah, but doesn't count. Whatever. She has a bonus action to wrestle. It's bonus action wrestle. Holga shoves a creature within 5 feet of herself. That creature must succeed in a DC 15 strength saving throw or be moved 5 feet into an unoccupied space of Holga's choice. That is not what happened. She suplexed the motherfucker.
Yeah, she was throwing people, literally throwing them.
Yeah. So Simon pretty much just has his chaos bolt, and he's got spell casting, Bigby's hand, major image, fog cloud, magic missile, spider climb. He has a bag of holding, which I noticed a few times in the film. So that was kind of cute.
You mean the wheel of spell components?
So he has the item when you go to buy it from the store is a wheel of spell turning, but he doesn't have that on his character sheet in D&D Beyond. He's just a wild magic sorcerer.
Yeah, we knew that.
So, Sophia, she's got her summon wraith, swarm of meteors, which she used in the film.
Yes.
Ivor's black tentacles, which she used in the film. Finger of death, which she kind of used in the film, almost.
Okay, hold on. So she is over 20th level. I don't know what her CR is on her sheet, but she is
15.
She is over 20th level because she cast during that last fight 2 9th level spells.
That's true.
Which means you have to have epic level feat, like DM granted feats. They are in the DM's guide. But that is the only way that you can cast 2 9th level spells, because she cast fucking Meteor Swarm and Time Stop. Now, Time Stop in the movie was absolutely different than the way it works in the game. And I think this is my thoughts on that. Maybe she doesn't actually have Time Stop. Maybe she has a variant of her own that she has made that works a little differently. Like instead of speeding her up, it actually does slow everybody down. So maybe that's an 8th level version of it. Just sort of like a large radius slow.
I mean, the thing with Time Stop is that it doesn't the range area itself, and pretty much it just says you stop the flow of time for everyone but yourself. You take 1d4 plus 1 turns in a row, during which you can use your actions and move as normal. And the spell ends if one of your actions used during this period or any effects you create during the spell period affects a creature other than you, or an object being awarded carried by someone other than you.
Yep.
And the spell ends if you move more than 1,000 feet away.
Yeah.
So it kind of was there. I mean, it's kind of hard to imagine how spells work, but I think
Time Stop has been described it's been described over the years how it works. Like
Yeah.
you have the rules version of it in 5e sitting there in front of you, but the way it works is it actually speeds the caster up so that they are able to take multiple actions while everybody else is still standing still. And obviously, in the other editions, it was more powerful. It used to be you would just cast Time Stop, then cast Fireball a few times, and then just let all of them go off.
So the another cool thing movie related is if you go to D&D Beyond right now, you can get the Thumberchild dice. All
Oh God!
right,
All right.
which are like these really cool spiky, lava filled scaly D20s. And if you roll a 20, Thumberchild shows up on your screen like sliding in,
Oh
and then
no!
he roars and he slides away.
Can we just talk for a moment about the greatness that is Thumbershout?
Yeah, he's
Like
good.
he was,
He's he's the
I
bestest boy.
I love him so much in that movie. He's the great chonk dragon. Oh Lord, he coming. Like he couldn't do anything. He slid down the pile of dead corpses just to get at the other guys. Then he just tried to roll over everybody. Also, I think his fire breath is broken because maybe he's so obese that it doesn't work right. Because
Yeah.
he tried doing it a few times and it only was like sparks, and then he got it to work once.
Well, the one time he got it to work, he went by a brazier.
Oh, is that okay? That's what it
Yeah.
was.
And
Yes,
then that caused it to go off that first time, and the second time was with Simon.
yeah, but yeah, no, he was fantastic. Also, I wanted to point this out since we were talking about how you could literally just see this being a D&D game. So they introduce Zinc the Paladin,
Hmm.
and Zinc the Paladin is an NPC. He is not
Yeah.
he is straight up a fucking NPC that was introduced to get the players to where they needed to go and make sure that they survive it, while introducing more villains. This is because he had to have the fight with the Thaye and assassins, but these assassins were all, at least the main one, probably 15th level or so. The other ones are like first or second level assassins, but he wanted to make sure the players don't die, so he had to introduce them to this badass NPC paladin who then goes through the process of beating the shit out of all of these other NPCs. So
Right.
you have this 2-minute fight scene, which in D&D actual terms would have been, several rounds of combat where the DM is just sitting behind his own screen rolling dice as NPCs fight each other. And that's such a newbie DM thing to do.
Yeah. My favorite scene with him was when he was walking away from the party, and they go, he walked in such a straight line. Oh, there's a rock in front of him. Is he gonna move around the rock? Nope, right
And
over
he's
it.
going right over it.
And that happens to me so much. Like people just like move their minis over the
Yep.
rocks as they move away.
Ignoring terrain. Yeah. But it leads me to believe that the DM for this session, that was his old PC. Like his first PC was Zinc, so he had to show the characters how awesome his first PC was.
It was either that or it's like one person that came in that just wanted to play for like a couple sessions,
Oh, that's
but
possible. Yeah,
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 couldn't devote all the time to it. So he's like, "Oh, I'll use you for something."
yep. Here's an NPC. You get to play this guy for the next 2 game sessions.
Yeah,
Well, there's a dragon fight, so he had to make sure that nobody died to the dragon. So you introduce the paladin to make sure that doesn't happen.
I would love to know if Thumberchild is going to get a stat block sooner or later.
I thought he already had one. I don't know. I
I don't
haven't.
think he
I haven't.
does.
I haven't looked, but
Yeah,
yeah. My thoughts on the movie. Okay, so realistically, it's about a 7 in out of 10. Realistically, because it's just a fun dumb action flick. There's nothing groundbreaking here. My personal opinion, it's at least a 9, if not better. Because I saw it twice. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Like I'll end up watching it. Probably done seeing it in theaters, but I'll own the DVD when it comes out. Watch it a bunch more.
So Thumberchild is in a book already.
Hmm. Yeah,
He's in what book was it? Out of the Abyss. Okay.
yeah. We were
And
talking.
he's
Yeah, we were talking about him
yeah,
the
and
other
he's
day.
just an adult red dragon.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was. That yeah, my buddy Mike pulled it out and showed me the other day. I just forgot about it.
But he is a big chunky boy,
He
even
is a
in that.
yeah, he's a chunky boy. He has no neck. It's just all like just dragon, no neck.
Adult dragon, no neck. Uh, uh, uh.
He's a no neck dragon. Uh, One other thing that I thought was cool is showing all of the different locations that they did, because this is something as a fan of Forgotten Realms, you're always, what does this place really and truly look like? And very few of the locations in D&D actually have artwork of them. Some of the cities do, obviously. There are definitely paintings of Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter. Um, Neverwinter, I don't know if that's even remotely what it was supposed to look like in the movie as
um,
compared to what it really is supposed to look like.
I ran Neverwinter for a little bit. It's pretty much just notated by there is a massive river that flows right through the center.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's heated up by a volcano. The castle was right, and the river kind of bending around it was right. The Colosseum was not a thing
Yeah, I
in
didn't think
Neverwinter.
so. Yeah, and that was a big ass coliseum too.
Yeah, so pretty much he just destroyed a massive town block, so he could basically build a Colosseum there.
That I could believe Forge doing that. Yeah, although the Coliseum would have already been there because they used to do those games previously.
In the fifth edition map of Neverwinter, there's no place for a Colosseum.
Yeah, so that's just
There's no Colosseum building at all anywhere.
that's a thing they introduced for the movie. I'm curious about those games. I don't remember what they were called, but we need to look into that and see if those were actually part of the lore prior to the movie. Um,
Yeah.
but we did get to see the Evermores, which is kind of cool. At least part of it briefly, when they were digging up the dead bodies and having conversations with dead person after dead person after dead person, which was one of the best scenes in the damn movie.
So going back and looking at the map of Neverwinter from fourth edition,
Hmm.
all that's there is the scar, the world scar
Yeah.
that's in there from the spell plague era. In fifth edition, it's gone.
Okay.
No Colosseum.
Huh. Yeah. Interesting. But
And even Evernight doesn't have a place for a Colosseum.
yeah, we don't know what time period this takes place
The
exactly.
1490s.
Is it 1490s?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure because it's a movie, they're gonna throw things in just for movie's sake.
Because Lord Neverember's in charge, so it's the
Yeah.
1490s.
They also did as far as NPCs that make an appearance, Elminster is the only one that made an appearance. And eh, it didn't seem very very Elminster, but it was also in a dream sequence. So
I was very interested if that was supposed to be Elementor or not.
I have looked it up. I cannot find
Yeah.
anything official saying it, but I have seen multiple articles by like major magazines and whatever saying it was him. So
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. My
I'm
person,
pretty sure the portrait was of Volo.
yeah, it looked much more Volo like than. Oh wait, which you mean the portrait they cut out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I hadn't thought about that, but you're probably right.
So that was Volo. I was very surprised that there were no cameos from Chris Perkins or Jeremy Crawford or Joe Manganiello
Yeah,
or anyone else involved in the D&D scene. I kind of expected them to be there,
they should
even
have
if
had
it's just like a council shot or something.
they should have had Ed Greenwood play Elminster. He kind of looks like him.
Uh,
Yeah, I was
so I
surprised. I was surprised there were no cameos by any of those people either. But whatever.
I really, I mean, it made $40 million domestic, 71 international. I kind of hope that they make another one. I think it worked out well. They didn't sequel bait this one at all, which is cool.
Yeah, they can do
Um,
whatever they want with it.
there's only a mid-credit scene. My wife was very disappointed they didn't show any Drow or Duragar or Deep Gnomes.
Yeah,
Um,
the most thing we got as far as that was the statues that were. I'm pretty sure those are supposed to be Durgar statues.
my wife corrected me and said that they're Deep Gnomes.
Were they?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
They were near a Durgar city because they said the name of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I think they're Duragar.
I think they were too, but who knows? Maybe they were Deep Elm. They did have pointed ears, so maybe. But
Maybe.
but they were also bald, just like Durgar.
I'm very curious if they'll ever actually have Drow on screen if they continue doing this.
Probably
You
not.
know, given the political climate that we live in the day there is, I mean, it should just be like they're not doing that. Just make them purple. I don't give a shit, honestly.
Yeah,
But
I'd be pissed. But that's
yeah,
me.
I'm sure a lot of people would, but it is what it is. They should have Drow. They shouldn't fear using Drow in any kind of way.
I agree. They shouldn't care, but whatever. They did it in Thor. So
Well, they were. Did they?
yeah, they have. I mean, he fights dark elves in the second movie.
But they were half white, half black face.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't care. Make them gray, make them purple. Just have the Drow because the Drow are very good villains. You
Yeah,
know, the
I
Zentarum is a good villain. The Thays are good villains, but
well, they can't
they
use
kind of.
They can't really use the Zentarum because it's all going to take place on the Sword Coast, whatever the fuck they do.
Well, I mean, they just
Zentarum,
had it. The main
like
villain was of Thay, so I mean, they can still do
yeah,
Zentarum.
I know. I'm saying it sort of facetiously. I know they can, but the Zentarum is more. They're more East Coast.
Through East Coast. I, I don't mind things being based on the Sword Coast. I honestly think Waterdeep would be a better setting than Neverwinter. There's just more there, and there's more NPCs. You
Yeah,
know, bring in the Yawning Portal. You know, do something. I don't know.
yeah. I really do hope that we get more D&D movies. Like in truth, you know me. I want more D&D media. I hate a lot of what WotC has done to the game, but I still love the settings, and I still want to see more of it on screen. I still want more novels of it. I was glad they actually wrote some novels about the movie and some of the characters.
Yeah,
I might have to pick those up at some point.
I picked them up. I read one chapter, and it was pretty much the intro of Holga.
I mean,
The thing what you saw in the movie was the first chapter that I read
oh, okay,
of like him basically not being able to take care of the baby,
right.
going to the bar, getting passed out just from sheer exhaustion from being a father of a newborn, and passing out, and then Holga just kind of like picking the baby up and like, okay, this is mine now, and him going, all right.
See, I love it. They even have backstories for these characters. They created their characters and wrote up like a 2-minute backstory, and then the DM actually used one of the characters' stories to further the plot line. Well, this asshole you used to be teamed up with stole your child.
I think that's what the book is about. Is it's the journey to Neverwinter. So I think it's them first that
When they're
first bunch of when he teams up with Forge and Simon in Neverwinter and
okay,
doing stuff there until the eventual breakup.
yeah,
And then I'm not sure what the Druid's Call book is. I have them both. They're written for 12th grade or less reading level.
sure, yeah. I mean, what
Just
do you expect?
can't read it. So tired. Must read Darkhold Secrets of the Zentarum book instead.
Yeah, I have all of these Oriental Adventures books, and I'm trying to get through all of them. And God, there's so much. And I read a little bit while I'm sitting here, and then I'll when I get ready to go to bed, I'll start reading and get like 5 minutes done, and then I go to sleep because I'm fucking tired by then.
You're like, fuck it, I'm out.
Yep, I'm trying. I'm trying. So much lore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very happy with the movie. I with the whole Joe Manganiello. being involved in supposedly, possibly a Dragonlance show. I'm real interested in seeing what they do with that.
Yep.
But I think we got a few years before we really start thinking about any of that.
So, what was the one thing you hated the most about the
That
movie?
the thing I hated the most, and it's my personal opinion, is Elminster. I didn't like their version of Elminster. And I understand it's a dream sequence of what Simon is seeing, who has probably never ever met his great great grandfather. So it's not the doesn't look like Elminster's supposed to. It doesn't act like Elminster is supposed to. And that was the one thing I disliked the most. And it's pretty minor, It's not like oh god, I wish they hadn't done this. It's just if I had to pick something, that's the weakest point of the whole thing. What was yours?
That the intellect of ours and just raffle stomp the group.
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That in the Ed Greenwood video he just released, the 5 things that are incorrect. That was one of them because intellect devourers can sense intelligence of 3 or greater. Yep.
I mean, it was a great joke, by the way, and props for that because that's something I would definitely do as a DM too.
Oh yeah.
The intellect of ours is walking by, going like, "Ugh, not your ass. No,
Yeah.
I'm leaving."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know you're there. I'm not hungry.
One thing that I am very sad that didn't happen is that snails didn't come back.
I know, right? Fucking snails or Davidar should have made an appearance, but
Snails.
at least we did get the original cartoon cast.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I read somewhere that it's possible that most of the people that were there were the original. Not the, there was a car. There was a car commercial with them,
Mhm.
and those were the
Yes.
same actors from the car commercial.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I one thing I'm disappointed in too, but glad it didn't happen, is I'm glad that they didn't show a beholder.
Well, I mean, apparently the Zinc killed a beholder with a sharpened gourd. So that's
Yeah,
something that happened in that previous DM, like that DM who used to play Zinc as a character. He did that in another game. He probably killed a beholder with a fucking sharpened gourd.
that's why I honestly think that running a Xanathar like crime guild movie, like picture any gangster movie that's come
Yeah.
out in the past 30 years in Waterdeep with Xanathar's guild. Um, basically, and like your group's just there to stop it. Would be the best movie for me to watch. You
I'm
don't have to travel anywhere, do fancy things. Don't have to go to some prison that is
just
out
run.
in
Just make.
Icewind Dale.
Just do a fucking D&D heist movie. Like
Yeah,
that's all. Like just a heist movie. You have your characters who work for Xanathar who have to go rob this location, and then you do your like there's so many fucking heist movies out there. You could do something awesome like that.
yeah.
Oh,
And to
go
all the
ahead.
people complaining that this is just the fantasy MCU,
God, I hope
fuck
so.
off. Fuck off. It's fun. It was a good movie.
I hope it becomes like the MCU. I want fucking 30 more movies and 8 TV shows. Um, So one last thing, I linked the video for you yesterday or the day before, but have you actually watched it of the original D&D cartoon characters? And it's the dungeon master showing them about an owlbear, and it has Doric as the owlbear, and and I'm drawing a blank on his fucking name, but the one douchebag, Dirk or Derek, I think it's Derek, is like, in the via the rules, she can't shapeshift into an owlbear. And then everybody's like, oh god, you're such a rules lawyer, shut up. And then the DM's like, oh, you suck.
Yeah, I'll link it in our Discord if you want to watch it.
It's like a fucking 30-second video, and it is fantastic. Because that character was always a douche in the cartoon.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I can't gush about it enough. I'll probably go see it again. I got the Mimic Cup. I got the cloth map. I got the little poster.
And
I'm happy with what I got.
I got none of them.
It's because you live in Alabama.
No, I could have driven 45 minutes or so to get
You should
stuff.
have.
Nah, wasn't. I don't really care enough. I'm not a collector of things like that. Now, if they were
Mm,
giving away like D&D books, yeah, I would have been there.
all right.
So, all right. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening, and we're out. Bye, Craig.
Bye.